What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Sheehan. Dave, Star Wars, man.
It's time for this podcast to end, Pat.
Kill it. Push the past away. Yeah, Dave, I kind of wish you were doing this with your shirt off, because
Oh,
you
right.
can make a lot
My massive pecs.
Fucking Kylo Ren, man.
Yeah.
Such a good character. We're going to get into it.
Get into it.
We have a lot to get to today. But before we get going, jumping into Mr. Robots, a lot of music, and obviously talking The Last Jedi. Please give us a subscription right down here somewhere. Also, soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod. You can get the pod in any form that works best for you. Make sure you give us some feedback either at Nowstalgia on Twitter, at NowstalgiaPod.
Come on, guy.
Or go to iTunes and leave a rating and review. So last week we posted our best of TV for the year pod, which I walked away feeling like that was a pretty good discussion on most of them. So I just wanted to touch on, though, Mr. Robot. Season finale was this Wednesday. We mentioned that in the pod last week that we hadn't gotten to see the full season yet. Did anything from the season finale or just the season as a whole stand out to you? Because season 2 got a lot of backlash, being kind of fatty, indulgent at times.
Especially in the beginning.
Yeah, and then it became much more succinct by the end of the season. This season was very much in the same vein as the last 4 episodes of last season, where it was very succinct, telling a story, seemed to be moving along, the plot was going somewhere. I feel like this season of Robot wasn't talked about that much.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. I think, it was return to form. A lot of the critics are, concluding their season wrap-ups and whatnot by saying such. But yeah, it wasn't as buzzy as season 1 was. I mean, season 1 was the summer show, sort of 2015, the summer before Stranger Things, really caught a moment, got people's attention, and be like, oh, what? A show on USA is good?
Mm-hmm.
Really? If you say so. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of disappointing. That's why I try and champion the show as much as I can. I mean, I had the show at number 4 on my list. You had it at number 3, right?
I believe I had it number 4 as well, because my 3 was what, Leftover, Pope, and
Rick and Morty
was 1. Yeah, Rick and Morty's number 3.
Right. Yeah, so we both had a number 4. I think that's a great spot for it. I thought the finale was quite strong, flat, just really entertaining, engaging. I think all the characters ultimately had good arcs this season. Everyone that we know. Yeah, I'm really excited for season 4. I especially like without spoiling anything, the dynamic between Mr. Robot and Elliot had up and downs this season. I like where it ended. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the show. I think it's as strong as ever. And please check out our discussion last week about why the show is so special in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing I wanted to shout out, your man Joey Badass, dude, fucking amazing in that last episode. What?
I said I met that guy once.
Did you give him a shout out for his robot work?
Dude, actually, when I talked to him at the meet and greet, I was asking about Mr. Robot. I didn't talk to him about music.
He'd actually probably really appreciate that, because I'm sure people are just asking about his music all the time.
Right.
Is he going to be on your albums of the year list, which will be coming up in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, it will be on my top 10 in some spot.
Wow.
You'll have to tune in next week to find out.
Friend of the pod, Sean McKenna, said that it would be in his top 10 as well. So you're in good company.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Sean is interesting. He's really behind on music, so he's just been texting me like, "What's an album I should listen to?" So he was like, "All I've listened to so far is Kendrick Lamar and All American Badass." And I was like, "How about you listen to Lord?" And he listened to Lord's like, "Dude, that album was so good. Like, give me another album." I was like, "Listen to Vince Staples," and he's like, "Dude, that album was so good." It's like I'm like educating Sean with like my best of list this year. It's pretty awesome. So why don't we jump from Robot into a lot of music, which I don't think is going to make our end of year list, but
one album might.
Ooh, why don't we start with that one then? Because you listened to 5 albums this weekend, Dave. You were crushing music. And I'm guessing the one that you're going to talk about is Brockhampton, right?
Correct, yeah. So the albums we're going to talk about right now, Eminem, Brockhampton, G-Eazy, N.E.R.D, and as well as G-Eazy, formerly younger G-Eazy. Young Jeezy. Younger Jeezy.
G-Eazy and G-Eazy.
Younger Jeezy is Shea Serrano's dog's name. Sorry. Young Jeezy.
Shout out
Yeah.
Shay.
So yeah, Brockhampton. I was penciling in Saturation 1 on my list. Saturation 3 might take that spot. So I think about it a little bit more, listen to Saturation 3 some more. But yeah, so I've talked about them here and there throughout the year. Saturation 1 came out in June. Saturation 2 came out in August. Saturation 3 came out last Friday, like all those other albums. And Brockhampton is a self-styled boy band, really a rap crew, rap collective, rappers, producers, designers, artists. They got a big roster. But yeah, Saturation really got a lot of people paying attention in the hip hop scene because, it's, again, on one hand, it's a group, and people always like groups. They're a group that's kind of out there, very original, doing a lot of cool things, very reminiscent of Odd Future, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. But Brockhampton, they're newer. They're influenced by Odd Future. You can definitely see it in the kind of work that they do, and as well as influenced by Kanye. It's very present. All the group really met on the Kanye to the Forum. That's how they all met, and they migrated from everywhere in the country. They now all live together in a house in LA where they recorded all this music and shoot their videos and stuff. Really display the chemistry that you'd come to expect from a dozen dudes that live together and make music all the time. And yeah, so Saturation 3 specifically, I think it's probably the strongest product to date. The chemistry is at its best. The rapping is better and better, I think. And they just continue to have all these fresh new ideas. And throughout the whole trilogy, while not every new idea makes for a good song, it's just cool to see that they're trying all this different stuff, whether that's these, weird experimental hooks, these rap song stuff, or a song like Star on Saturation 1, where they just spit like 60 punchlines, and it's just fucking amazing to listen to. I think for Saturation 3, the first single, Boogie, is just so jarring because the production is so like nerd-esque. We'll get to Nerd in a minute. And that song is like, I think my favorite posse cut of the year. It's Amir Van and Don McLennan, which are like the three best rappers in the group, as well as Matt Champion, who does a lot of hooks, Joba and Merlin, who are like the two kind of wild cards. And they all just trade verses, and it's just, I think it's a wonderful song. Johnny's really good. Alaska's really good. And I think just in general, Brockhampton is something you want to pay attention to if you're someone who is turned off by like generic or typical hip hop, trap inspired stuff. They don't really have trap beats. They make a lot of their own beats, and it's very nerd inspired. Kanye, like I said, so definitely check them out. Kevin Abstract in particular is someone you're going to want to pay attention to because he's probably going to get into film and stuff too. I mean, they already had a little Viceland series going on. I mean, these guys are going to be stars. So please listen to the Saturation trilogy.
Yeah. What was the why was this their concept? These 3 albums within a half year, really?
Yeah, I'm not. It's not really sure. I think they're living on top of each other. They're just cranking out music. I think honestly, they have all these ideas and they just want to keep working.
Interesting.
They haven't done a whole lot of interviews, but I think they were just on Zane Lowe leading up to this, and that's kind of how they talk about it. They're just creators, and they all like working together. So, and apparently the Saturation 3 being the last album of the Brockhampton, as a group, was just kind of trolling. Basically, they said,
"Oh, really?"
Yeah, Kevin was like, "If it was the last album, I'd be very happy with it, but I think we have more to say." And that does make they're about to go on tour after this album. So,
I was gonna say,
gonna eventually come. I mean, there's so many of them, so many guys, creative. They'll definitely branch off at some point. But yeah, it's great to hear that they'll, keep going. They're just beginning, really.
Definitely, one of my New Year's resolutions is going to be to catch up on them. I'm glad to hear that they're not breaking up. I was like, this is like, it feels like such a flash in the pan. Like they could have been so much bigger, but I'm glad that they're sticking with it. So Brockhampton seems to be your favorite listen of the weekend. What was your second favorite listen?
I don't think I had a second favorite listen.
Ooh, that's not good.
Yeah. So okay, I Eminem is bad. I'll get to that in a second. N.E.R.D I appreciate. Didn't really like it that much. And
What didn't you like about Nerd?
I just don't think that many of those songs are actually good as songs.
Mhm.
It's a lot of Chad Hugo, the Neptunes. We know they can make
Mhm.
good beats. Some of the
Right.
production on Nerd's new album, first album in 7 years, some of the production's really, really good. Like I think those are great beats. And some of it's just like loud noise. Like they were just kind of trying stuff. And
Mhm.
I think Nerd at its worst was just kind of Pharrell's like notebook of extra ideas, things to do and try, at the expense of the output of Nerd as a group. And I think some of that's it. Like, and then in this new album, they're trying to get a little political, but I just don't think the songs are that good personally. Like, I like Lemon, the lead single. I think Lemon's
Yeah.
awesome, but other than that, like 1,000, the other single with Future, that is incredibly jarring production. But yeah, and the two Kendrick verses and Andre Three Stacks verse, but I don't really like the songs
Yeah.
that much personally. What did
You
you
know,
think?
I thought "Don't Do It" was probably the second best song on the album. I agree. Lemon, carried by Rihanna mostly, and her fucking second fire rap verse of
Yeah,
the year,
I have to
amazingly.
agree.
Um, but yeah, don't do it. Kendrick basically has like a Andre 3000 bombs over Baghdad type moment where he's just like rapping over this incredibly fast beat. And then yeah, you're probably gonna clown me for this. Lifting You with Ed Sheeran, I feel like is so like whimsical and catchy and just like it's kind of like passion fruit for me in a way. I know it's probably not a good song, but it's so much like fun and just like enjoyable to listen to. I don't really give a fuck.
Like I think it's like halfway through the album where it really like has like
Shifts.
a shift where it just
Yeah.
gets really out there and all over the place. The song ESP, I started off liking it, and then the song keeps going for another like 4 minutes and goes all over the place. So I'm like, what the hell was this?
I know.
You know?
Literally, I was listening to it in the car, and when it got halfway through, and it has like a very distinct shift in the song. I was like, oh, I like that last song, so I just go check it out. I realized it was the same song, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, just
Never
break
good.
these up. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I wanted to ask what is your like view of Pharrell? Because I feel like I don't see him as much as like a musical artist, as just like a celebrity icon at this point. But I know he has like a very history and pretty good career as a musical artist.
Yeah, well, he's a producer first. Like
Right.
he's like Dr. Dre, he can write and he can make fire beats and he can help curate an album. But when he's carrying stuff with his own vocals, it's usually hit or miss. Like his Gangsta Grills mixtape where he rapped, some people like that. I think it's pretty cool. Some people really hate it. Um, on Move That Dope with Future, he spits an amazing verse. The Gandalf hat line I still
Mm-hmm.
fucking love. But overall, a lot of his solo work was really hit or miss. I mean, I don't think any of those Nerd albums are especially excellent. Maybe one of them, I think their second album is probably the most beloved.
Seeing
And then when
music or whatever.
Yeah, and then when Pharrell came back, into the mainstream, with a girl in 2014, and that's where Happy was from, and got all the
Mm-hmm.
Grammy attention. That was really good, but it was just very different from anything else he had done. But yeah, ultimately he made really good beats for the Neptunes. He made a lot of the beats for some of the best Jay-Z songs. Uh, and he's done a lot of behind the scenes work. But at this point, he's more well known for being a judge on
Dude
The
in the big
Voice.
hat.
Yeah,
Remember that big fucking hat?
yeah, I know
Crazy.
the Gandalf hat.
Seems like what, 3 years ago? I don't know.
2014, yeah, that's when he came back.
Yeah. Also, he fucking killed it in for with Daft Punk. So like that, I think that was really when
Right.
a lot
I
of
was
like
saying
popular
yeah.
culture started again. And then Happy obviously was just like
Mhm.
stupidly huge. Anything else to say about Nerd? I mean, I think we pretty much touched on what it is. Yeah.
Yep.
So Eminem, you said is bad.
Yeah, so it's Revival, first album since Marshall Mathers LP2, which was the album after Recovery, which was
Mhm.
his, big comeback sobriety album. That's where Not Afraid, Love the Way You Lie are from. So those are his three albums since 2010. And this album is just, it's so corny, it's so cringeworthy. And despite Eminem basically trolling Trump. He's been doing it before the album came out with that
Mhm.
BET freestyle thing, and like he's picking begging for a fight. And Trump, the guy who never keeps his mouth shut, hasn't said a word about it, which
Irrelevant.
Makes Eminem look horrible, personal, in my opinion. Um, but he's been picking a fight with Trump, a guy that a lot of his fan base probably voted for. And Eminem's a guy who he's like anyone in hip hop. When we talk about the best MCs in the game, we never consider Eminem and his technical ability because in between records he just goes the fuck away. He's a fucking recluse, and the fact that now he's gonna come out and be all righteous and pro gay, pro diversity, it's a very liberal mindset, in 2017. I don't even know if I can buy that from him because he's a guy who his whole persona, his whole career is built off not giving a fuck who he offended. Oh, but now you're actually like kind of a good person just because you got sober. Now I just don't know if I buy any of this. But even if my opinions of Eminem as a person aside, the music is just bad. Look at this track list, look at the features, and you might mistake it for the Suicide Squad album. Yeah, Ex Ambassadors and Pink and Ed Sheeran and Skylar Grey, his favorite fucking singer. I don't know what else Skylar Grey does besides wait for Eminem to give her a phone call.
She did kill on SNL though, so shout out Skylar Grey.
Yeah, and she actually does a lot of writing for people too. But like, can you do work for anyone else, please? The song
Beyonce's on here, dude. Come on. Oh, we already knew that though.
Oh yeah, Walk on Water. This fucking like hymn
horrible single.
It gives you it pretends to tell you, oh, this album's gonna be like Jay-Z's 444. Eminem's mature and questioning his career decisions, and he's really woke and self-aware now. Just fucking kidding. Eminem still is so preoccupied about how many words he can rhyme in fucking sentences, all the stupid parlor tricks. I mean, let's look at fucking Hopsin. Hopsin is really good at technical rapping. Does he make good songs? No. Eminem, you used to make good songs. We don't care if you're really good at rapping. It doesn't make good music. But he does all these stupid things. And when you're focused on rhyming, just to rhyme, the lyricism isn't there. And you can look through any of these songs and it's fucking like 7th grade intellect. It's not smart. Like, what's it called? Untouchable. That's that thing with the white boy chant. The fucking cringe, man. I can't fucking handle it. And then the song Remind Me, that samples I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett. Rick Rubin made this song. Eminem, why are you doing that? Like, what drove you to think that was a good idea? Like, anywhere you look on this, it's just bad music. And the song with Alicia Keys is where his most vocal, obvious Trump dig is. But again, like the songs aren't that good. Like he can't focus on what he wants to do. Part of him wants to be really woke. Part of him wants to be political. Part of him wants to be the old school hip hop head guy, and part of him wants to be the guy that just technically rhymes really well. There's no cohesion. It's a bad album.
Well, I don't really have anything to add to that. I had no interest in listening to this album. It's interesting though, because like you told me, you'll look up the track list. Kalani's on there. Pink.
You like Kalani? Yeah.
Ed Sheeran, like he got some talent, but I just I don't think Eminem at this point has his fastball anymore. It's kind of.
It's also 77 minutes long, which is way too long.
Which we always talk about how succinct albums are the best albums. So only check out Eminem if you're a sadist or a masochist.
Yep.
Okay, G-Eazy and G-Eazy.
All right, so G-Eazy, I listened to G-Eazy's album Pressure. I think it's his 8th album, 9th album. Really solid, really good. Not spectacular, not going to wow you. It's competent rapping. I'm actually impressed that I think it's, probably the top half of his good albums, obviously. Thug Motivation is classic. That's years away now at this point. But yeah, it's solid. Shout out G-Eazy. There's some good songs on there. The song American Dream has a good verse from J. Cole and a good verse from Kendrick. Awesome to see those two guys.
When are we going to get that album together?
Oh yeah, that album we're never getting. There's something for it at least. So yeah, if you're interested, G-Eazy album's not bad. And then lastly, G-Eazy, obviously has become very, very famous the past 2 years or so. Me, Myself, and I was that huge hit for him, like 4 times platinum. He was on that Britney Spears song. And on one hand, I've been a fan of G-Eazy for a long time, ever since, he was underground, an internet rapper, really. And it's funny watching how far he's come, both in terms of fame. in terms of he's dating Halsey now. He's very famous. He's a good looking dude. He's got a fuck ton of Instagram followers. Like he's killing it. But on the other hand, his first single ever that really got attention was "Run Around Sue," which sampled the song "Run Around Sue" by Dion from 1961.
Mm-hmm.
He had another song that sampled Janis Joplin. Like he had a very
Eclectic taste.
distinct, influence and aesthetic that is totally gone now as he's evolved. And I think he's a better rapper now, but he's gotten more like bland. And I saw it described this way. I know it's gonna immediately turn you off, but "The Beautiful and the Damned," which is the new album, it's his third album. The subject matter is very Views-esque, Views from Drake. Um,
What?
G-Eazy is he's very introspective about like his failures and his ability to keep it going, but then he also relapses into his hard partying lifestyle and being a lady killer and you know doing all drugs and stuff. So it's very up and down like that. No Limit, the really big hit with Cardi B and Rocky. I think it's number 10 right now. Fuck with me song. It's hot, but I think I like the bangers on his last album more. And I think the songs aren't good. They're not compelling. They're pretty dull. The good songs, like they're good intentioned, but they're dull. Like he actually sets out to say things and try and has a message, but I don't think it really comes together. So in a sense, I'm still like gonna pay attention to G-Eazy. I still like him as an artist because he clearly is. He's thinking. He's not just putting shit out. But as I said last year, we don't give participation medals for trying to be woke. We said that about J. Cole. So let's say that about Eminem right
Nerd.
now, and I'll say it about G-Eazy. So it's it's a mixed bag for sure, and it's too long.
Woke rapping is just, I don't know. It's a lane that you have to really be certain of if you're going to go down, I feel like. Because
Yep.
it can come across as pretentious so easily, and just like makes you sound like you don't really know what you're talking about if you don't do it well. That I don't know. I feel like it's a dangerous game that not a lot of, I hope not a lot of rappers go down in the age of wokeness. Speaking of woke, episode 7, The Force Awoke. Episode 8, it began right where episode 7 left. Well, actually, not right where it left off. Off this mountain, finding Luke Skywalker at the top of this staircase and
Yep.
handing him his lightsaber, and then it cuts to black. Episode 8 starts off with a really cool space battle scene with a lot of I don't know, casualties for the rebels, and kind of sets up like the rest of the plot of the movie. Basically, the Empire chasing the rebels through the galaxy, and then it cuts to Luke Skywalker, and Rey's handing him this lightsaber, and he grabs it and throws it over his shoulder. And isn't that the most perfect like image for this whole movie?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
exactly basically what Rian Johnson did for this whole entire franchise with this movie.
Yeah, from that I guess that second scene, the Last Jedi tells you, Rian Johnson tells you that this is not going to be what you expected. You're going to be wrong.
This is not
And
gonna go how you think.
Force Awakens ends with a very effective final scene with Rey handing the lightsaber. Here, please teach me, how to use this, how to be a Jedi. What am I supposed to do? And then Last Jedi is like, nah, we good.
I know. So yeah, The Last Jedi, written and directed by Rian Johnson, Looper, probably the best episode of Breaking Bad ever. Ozymandias.
Yep.
Um,
He's got a unique touch, and
yeah,
being both a film and TV director is an interesting pedigree to come into this movie.
yeah. People were saying before that he's probably the most talented director to helm a Star Wars movie, and I mean, I definitely agree. Just the way he tells stories and the way he shoots them is just gorgeous.
Yeah. I mean, that's not even that hot of a take. He's competing with J.J. Abrams, which is his best competition, of course, but J.J. is known for other things besides the actual technical ability of being a director.
Right.
George Lucas, Irvin Kershner, and Lawrence Kasdan. Like I forget who directed Empire, but like he's not competing with anyone who made a lot of movies. So
No.
it's a pretty safe thing to say.
The Last Jedi has grossed worldwide 450 million and US and Canada 220. It's the fifth largest opening all time.
Yep. Second biggest domestic behind Force Awakens. Had the second best Thursday. Yeah, it's a juggernaut, which makes sense because the buzz and the hype was so high.
When did you see this movie?
I saw this Thursday night. I wasn't actually planning on. Yeah, there's a new theater like a mile and a half from my house that like opened, opened up for Star Wars. I was able to buy a ticket to Thursday night at like 5 p.m. on Thursday night.
Slow start. Did you use that movie pass?
I couldn't use Movie Pass. The theater was so new; it wasn't in Movie Pass yet. But I didn't even mind because obviously I'm so far ahead with Movie Pass.
I got to use it for the first time with Star Wars, and it was a very satisfying experience. I'll put it that way. I saw it yesterday. So we record on Mondays. I saw it Sunday night or Sunday morning. Sorry, with a bunch of our friends. Actually, it was their second time seeing it, and most of them left saying that they enjoyed it more on the second watch than they did the first time. Which kind of where I wanted to start off this conversation on Rotten Tomatoes. This has 93% among critics, 56% among fans. This film, is it as divisive as those numbers would lead you to say?
Great question. I think it's an important thing to talk about. So you can look at the Metacritic, you look at the audience score on RT, and it's low. It's in the 50s, right? How many people that are really big fans of something go to leave a good rating on that?
Right.
It's a lot. Usually people want to shit post something negative because they feel some type of way because, they're negative. Right. So I don't, it's clearly a vocal minority that has a problem with the movie. And I think that's pretty obvious when you look at an A cinema score, not an A-, a fucking A. Cinema score is day one polling from people. General audiences love the movie. Critics love the movie. Only people that don't like the movie are a subsect of hardcore fans that feel personally attacked, feel like it didn't deliver what they wanted, therefore they don't like it. And I mean, if you want to get into this now, I mean, if you don't like a decision in a movie, that's fine. I mean, he's like, oh, I would have done something differently. That's a perfectly normal reaction to say when you're enjoying any piece of art, really. Mm-hmm. But what I don't like, and I think makes your opinion look bad, and I think you lose any credibility, is when you say you didn't like a decision, and in turn you say the movie was bad. If you can't separate your subjectivity from being objective, then you don't really have a credible opinion. I don't think like your critical eye matters because the movie is objectively good. The movie does so many things great, and at the very least, the good far outweighs the bad. But I mean, there's hot takes going around that it's not Star Wars and it's as bad as the prequels, and like that's just incorrect. Like I don't know how you can actually say that and try and have leg to stand on. Like you can not like things that happened, but it doesn't mean the movie was bad. So
yeah, to kind of build off of that, one of the things that J.J. Abrams did with Force Awakens was, I mean, he had a really tough job. The prequels are slammed by Star Wars fans for being not as good as the originals, although it was what Revenge of the Sith is considered to be one of the better movies of the franchise, probably definitely above the first two.
Yes.
J.J. Abrams comes in. He has these totally new characters with the old heads as well, and he's trying to not only service Star Wars fans, but also create a setup for a trilogy moving forward. So he had a pretty tough job, and he did, I thought, a decent job. I don't think The Force Awakens is a perfect movie by any chance, but he did what he needed to do for the franchise.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't, but like the critiques, the very obvious critiques of it being kind of rehashy and a little bit of safe movie, they don't matter because, like you said, the movie's main job was to get old fans back, bring new fans in. It was comfort food. That's what it needed to be, and it totally succeeded.
But along with,
you can acknowledge those critiques of The Force Awakens, which I think are important to recognize as if you like film, but still understand that it's okay.
Right. So this is where it's probably gonna get a little bit spoilery. J.J. Abrams in setting up this new world, also left a lot untold, which makes sense. He's not
Yeah.
going to explain everything in
He
one
asked a lot
movie.
of questions.
What was that?
I said he asked a lot of questions. He
Right.
just he wrote stuff down. He didn't finish anything. Obviously, he just kind of started the story.
But with all those questions led people to have wild speculation, which is part of what makes being a fan of any kind of franchise or TV show or anything fun, thinking about the possibilities of something. And Rian Johnson came in and basically was like, oh yeah, all those theories you had, nope. Rey's parents, they're nobody. Luke hates being a Jedi. He's not going to really help out that much until the very end. Like,
Snoke does not matter.
Doesn't matter at
I
all.
love it.
But you know what? That's why this movie was actually great, because if this had been a normal Star Wars movie, Rey probably would have been either related to Obi-Wan or like Ben Solo's like long lost like twin sister or some bullshit like that.
Or even Luke's daughter or something.
Right, Luke's daughter, and it would have just been the story about these people. But I think Rian Johnson, probably knowing he was going to be handed the keys to something larger, was like, I need to set up something for the future here. And that's why he was able to take these risks. This actually might be a good place to jump in with, like, what were the things about the movie we liked? Because I think the things that we liked are probably going to line up well with the risks Rian Johnson took.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
I mean, let's start with something you just said. Snoke. Supreme Leader Snoke, we only see him in the really cool, like, big hologram in The Force Awakens. He's the leader of the First Order, commanding Hux and Kylo Ren. You hear from Leia and Han that Snoke kind of seduced Kylo, probably set him off the path to the dark side and whatnot. That's kind of all we know in The Force Awakens. And he has like 2 talking scenes with Kylo and Hux. And then we get to The Last Jedi, and there's a great throne room scene, but Snoke dies. And God, did I love that. I mean, some of the hardcore fans are like, oh, what is Snoke? We don't know anything about him, the origins. And I was like, what did we need to know about him? He was a boring character. He was a character we know. He was pure evil, really powerful in the dark side of the Force. What else did you need to know? Oh, did he come from something? Was he Dark Plagueis? Was he Emperor Palpatine's old? No, that's
right.
Again, destroy the past. Like, that doesn't fucking matter.
Yep.
This is about Kylo Ren, who we'll get to. Why we gotta waste time with Snoke? We don't need to go down that trope. And I mean,
that moment. I don't want to cut you off, but that moment when I was watching it was really when I was like, whoa. Because, I mean, you see Luke, like, throw the lightsaber, but, like, I thought it was going to be kind of, even when Luke found Yoda was willing to, like, mentor him, but it took a little while. He had to, like, win him over a bit.
Right.
So, like, I thought maybe he'll come around. When they killed off Snoke, I was like, this movie is fucking not like any other Star Wars movie. Because there was no way Snoke would have died in this part of the trilogy. He would have died in the last one with some major Rey killing Kylo and him or something along those lines.
Right, like, basically the movie will build up to Kylo and Rey teaming up to take down the ultimate evil Supreme Leader Snoke. Right. And I mean, let's not forget Emperor Palpatine. You don't know fucking anything about Emperor Palpatine until we get to 1999 and we watch the prequels. Then we learn too much about Palpatine. We don't even know. We don't even know his fucking name in Emperor. He's just pure evil. He serves a purpose, right? He's a plot device. We didn't need Snoke to do anything more. And the fact that that's the past. We don't need to worry about that because the relationship between Kylo and Rey is so much more important to a story and more interesting.
Way more interesting. That actually brings me to something else that I think I really liked, which it touches on 2 things. One, Rian Johnson basically was like, we're going to give this to Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver. Like, we have 4 young stars in this. We have Oscar Isaac, John Boyega, Daisy Ridley, and Adam Driver, and the 2 main ones need to be the ones that shine. And so Snoke gives them this ability to basically have like FaceTime calls through the Force.
Awesome.
Adam Driver's like, I'm going to get slightly more sexual through each one of these, like, until I'm actually like touching
something on.
Yeah, I know. And I thought that not only making this about their relationship and the conflict within both of them, was phenomenal, but also taking risks with what the Force was and basically redefining the Force in this movie was such a good call.
Yeah.
Kind of ending with Broom, what was I like Tauntaun horse boy at the end, like calling his broom over, setting up for something larger, and the possibilities of the universe is just really, really exciting.
Right, and I think that really ties into what happens with Luke. Going to the Force Awakens, we know that Luke is gone. Kylo ran off and killed off his temple, and went with Snoke. And Luke felt bad, and he left. He went in exile. And the whole movie's about finding Luke, and even Kylo is trying to find the map to Luke Skywalker. Right. Last Jedi, we finally understand what is actually Luke like now. He's old, obviously, but he's in self-imposed exile, and the fact that he is such has he's such a, it's such so much gray area about his perception of the Force, I think, is amazing. And this is another point of contention for some of those hardcore dorks. They're like, "Oh, this bastardized Luke's character. It's so out of character. He would never do this." And it's like, all right, well, let's get our notebooks out. Let's actually think about what happened here with Luke. Uh, Luke saw that the Jedi were so consumed by the light side of the Force they thought in extreme situations that they could, it had to use it as a militant force of war, right? We saw it in the prequels. The Jedi were so blind they didn't see Palpatine right under their nose.
Right.
And Luke, someone who idolized the Jedi of what he knew of them, of course, and then meeting, old Ben and having such a great mentor for a short time, he came to realize through his failures with Kylo that the Jedi way was honestly pretty backward because they were so blind. And when in a moment of weakness, he had the same issue where he thought Force was the way to do it. He would cut down Kylo only for a moment. Obviously, it went badly, and he broke faith because he realized, all of that was wrong. I think that's kind of a meta of us as the people as fans and the Force going forward. Like you said, the Force is much more mystical, as we learned in the original trilogy. And the preconceived notions we had about the Force aren't they don't matter. And the fact that Luke it kind of represents that for the movie, I think, is awesome. It's a great way to have the character, and it's funny because Mark Hamill actually I don't think was really a fan of the direction when he first read the script. And I mean, did Mark Hamill to come be the old guy and get killed by Snoke or something? Like, no, I just think it's so much. It's riskier, of course, but so much more interesting the way the character has changed. And obviously manifests throughout the rest of the movie. But I loved everything that happened with Luke.
Just to kind of like tie up that conversation about Mark Hamill, because I think his performance is like supporting actor worthy for the Oscars. I just thought not only like the way he played him, but the way he was like snarky at times, even though like some of it felt a little strange, like in the final battle scene when he like brushes his shoulder off. I was like, okay, I chuckled, but I was like, I don't know if like that totally fits. But did you like the way that Luke I don't know, went into the Force or died or whatever it was at the end?
I did. I think some people didn't, but I thought that was awesome. I mean, what did we need his old ass get cut down?
Right.
I mean, no, I thought that was cool. He outsmarted Kylo. He saved everyone using the Force, and it was all he had left. And again, get rid of the past. I think Luke's time had come. His view had changed. I don't think we needed Luke to come back and be old Luke. Oh, there's old Uncle Luke. Like, no, it's okay. I think I like this way more.
I agree. And also this speaks to something else I like that the movie did, other than really the first, I don't know, 25 minutes with Leia basically leading the Republic not the Republic, the rebels. And then at the end, when she kind of had like her last like 10 minutes on screen, she was pretty much like in a hospital in a coma for most of the movie. C3PO had like maybe like 3 or 4 scenes. R2D2 had 1 scene. Chewbacca was just frying porgs while Daisy Ridley's doing fight scenes by herself against rocks. Like they really took the old guard, and though they had their moments, other than Luke, no one really had the ball that much in this, and I didn't mind that. I think that moving it more into the Poe Rey, Kylo sphere makes
Yeah.
so much more sense for the trilogy moving forward.
Right. And I mean, you mentioned Poe. I think Poe, he doesn't do a whole lot in the movie, but Oscar Isaac gets a lot more scenes, a lot more dialogue anyway, um, which is great. Of course, he's such one of the great actors we have right now. Um, and I think, honestly, JJ didn't do Johnson any favors with Poe because I think Poe was supposed to die in early drafts for The Force Awakens, but they realized, I think, that they had such a great talent that they should try and make the character better, which obviously makes sense. And now he's got a
Mm-hmm.
comic book line and yada yada. But yeah. So I think some people are criticizing the film, saying, "Oh well, what was the point of the movie? Nothing happens. Like it's just there's no narrative involvement." And again, I'm like, you idiots! It's about the fucking character work that's so amazing.
Right.
Like not that important, but nevertheless, they don't do a whole lot. But again, I didn't fucking give a shit. I thought the movie was spectacular and engrossing, and I thought the post stuff was really fun. And Emperor or Vice Admiral Holdo, Laura Dern's character, rocking that
Mm-hmm.
purple. Some people thought her secrecy was out of place, didn't make a lot of sense.
I
Maybe
agree with that.
I think that's fine, but like I think that's a minor gripe considering you see how it ends, where she has that hyperspace kamikaze run where it cuts to black and
Yeah.
white and goes silent. I mean, how many directors can pull that off in a blockbuster film? That was a beautiful sequence.
Not only like the black and white, but the contrast from like basically everybody within the command center of the Empire ship just like screaming like take down that ship, and then just goes silent and it just cuts through, and like the way you just see like the whole like the line in it was fucking incredible. One of the probably the most striking visuals of the entire Star Wars filmography
Yeah.
at this. Yeah, I did want to go back to something you said. It's actually it slipped my mind now. So let's just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Holdo, though, I thought for a second they were going to make her kind of like the next Leia in a way. Like after things had happened with Leia, I thought that maybe they would have reversed those roles, which I felt would have been totally out of character and just wouldn't make sense. So I'm glad that they actually did do that. I don't know if they really solved what's going to happen with Leia, but I think like whatever the time lapse is between this movie and the next will solve that. How'd you feel about Carrie Fisher as Leia throughout the movie?
Yeah, I think she delivers a great performance.
Yeah. What'd you think about that
It,
force flying?
I mean, I'll get to that in a second. So she actually worked with Rian Johnson on the character because Carrie Fisher is a well-known script doctor. She's got she's
Yeah.
an author. She didn't do a whole ton of acting personally, but she's very involved. Obviously, a very smart mind when it comes to that stuff. Um, so I really liked the character and the performance. I think it was probably her. It was her best performance as Leia.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
yeah. So the force flying thing happens very early. Honestly, it's a pretty jarring scene. And R.I.P.
Yeah.
Akbar. First of all,
Didn't even get any like shine either. Like, yeah, Akbar's dead. And everybody just moved on. Like, what?
and like
Dude's been through every battle since like 1970.
yeah, and so I think that's a perfectly fine thing to critique. I mean, it was jarring, but I didn't personally mind it just because I didn't necessarily find it unbelievable when I think about everything else I accept in Star Wars. Let's think. Luke Skywalker used the training remote on the Falcon for like 5 minutes, right? Talked to Obi-Wan a few times, and then he used the Force and he guided a proton torpedo and killed the Death Star. Okay, that's fine. Rey, we know, doesn't have any gifted lineage, no Force lineage, right? She's just naturally gifted in the Force. No real training. She kicks Kylo's ass, who at least had some training, and then
Lots of training.
she kills the Praetorian guards after Kylo kills Snoke, and still can hold her own against Kylo Ren. We accept that, right? Because Rey's cool, right? So Leia, who's related to Luke, who we already accepted can do all these cool Force things. If the Force helps her stay alive in space, I think there's crazier things I've seen.
have we seen any of the Star Wars characters actually like be out in space like that? I can't
Not
remember it.
in the movies anyway. Yeah, no, I mean, again, like if you want to pick it apart, I think you can. But again, I think it's a very minor thing that it really doesn't matter one way or the other. I
Yeah,
mean, all these people that are so mad about no plot happening, oh, then why do you care about something that's not plot anyway? Like let's
right.
keep it consistent here.
You know, I think it was just like the this is like a weird thing to say, but I almost feel like it was like the length of how far she flew. Like if she had been like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 feet out the door and like somehow like found her way to the door, like to the door using the force, I would have felt like that. But she literally was just like never have ever seen Leia use the force to that extent. We know that she's somewhat connected to it, but I think that and also just the way it was done. I mean, it was like she was glowing like a ghost as she's flying, which I was kind of like, not really a big fan of.
Heavy for sure. Yeah.
So, but look, like you said, it's a minor thing that I don't think took away from the movie for me overall. Like if that's my biggest complaints about the movie, I don't mind that. Um, I kind of want to just jump to probably my favorite part of the movie. That third act was just unbelievable. Starting with the lightsaber scene between with Kylo and Rey, which we already alluded to. Kylo turns on Snoke, kills him using Rey's lightsaber, and then Snoke's fucking badass ninja bodyguard Jedi's, our Sith Lords, decided to avenge Snoke's death. And they have like the coolest back-to-back fighting lightsaber battle I've ever seen, bro.
Yeah, interesting of note, no actual lightsabers touched in this movie. Obviously, Luke wasn't actually physically there, right? So first time that's ever happened. But yeah, the Praetorian guards who we knew about from promotional material and stuff, they had all those different weapons. That was an awesome fight scene. And
so cool.
honestly, like again, we've talked about why narratively and why narratively the Snoke death was great, but also I think in universe it was really cool too because as soon as we got to that scene, Rey's a puppet to Snoke. Snoke's so much more powerful, right? And we've already accepted that Rey is just naturally gifted, but could she just strike down Snoke like that? I think that's more of a stretch than Leia, flying through space. So the fact that Snoke was so much hubris and so confident in his abilities that he was reading Kylo's mind, and he just misinterpreted it. He didn't realize Kylo was about to fucking cut him in half.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think that's a more believable way for him to go out than them to team up and kill him in episode 9 like all the fans wanted, So I mean the build up to this scene is great, and then obviously it's so stunning, and then it ends with the lightsaber pulling apart and the dichotomy between Rey and Kylo, and obviously the performances are accentuated. It was a stunning scene.
Yeah, and also just the way that they fought in this scene, because it's not like Phantom Menace where you have Darth Maul doing flips with some, crazy two-sided lightsaber. I mean, them in the middle, they were obviously fighting really beautifully. The choreography on that was just unbelievable. But like Rey wins by like dropping her lightsaber, ducking out of a chokehold, and picking it up and cutting a guy in half. Or Kylo's about to die, and she throws a lightsaber to him and puts it through the guy's eye. Like it wasn't like they were like super skilled and trained. It was just that they wanted it more, in a way, which I liked about this. It seemed somewhat realistic in the sense of how realistic Star Wars could actually be.
Right, and let's think about how it ends. So Kylo doesn't pull the trigger on Leia, right? His two buddies do. So he hesitated to kill his mom, right? The whole build up in Force Awakens, we don't know if he was planning on killing Han the whole time, or he just decided in that moment once he had that conversation, right? Kylo is so awesome because he's like unfinished evil, right? He's not totally gone, but he's well on his way, and he's so fucking compelling because of that. And then we're like, oh, he killed Snoke. He's interested in Rey. Oh, they're gonna team up, right? No, they fucking doubled down on Kylo as the bad guy. It was so fucking good, and Rey just wants nothing to do with it. I mean, and then we talked about the space phone that they have. I mean,
right.
Driver's performance is fucking insane. It's so good, and the physicality he brings, but also he ditches the mask in the beginning of the movie because Snoke makes fun of it, and
which was a great decision,
of course, because we get to see him actually act more. And man, I mean, I need to see the movie again because I just can't stop gushing about everything he does. I think Kylo Ren is one of the best It might be one of the best, if not the best, movie blockbuster villain there ever was. Because like
Yeah,
he's so compelling, he's so
complex.
complex, right? I mean, even Darth Vader starts out very one note. Then we learn he's Luke's dad,
Mhm.
of course. But like
Right.
Kylo, man, Kylo's so good.
Yeah, I think the really amazing thing about Kylo is he really is still this like wounded kid in all of this. This kid who I don't whatever his issue was with his parents was angry at them. He was not really sure about what he wanted to do, and his uncle kind of doubted him, and he felt threatened, and he became this like hurt child who Driver does that so well. Like the scene where they're in the AT-AT, and he sees Luke come out, and he's like, "I want every gun to
Right.
fire on that." The way he delivers that line, just like the pure like anger and fear and hatred, that's like a little kid. And then
Right.
when he's like, "Lower me down," and the guy's like, "You can't go down there," and he throws Hux against the side, and the other guy's
Yeah.
like, "All right, I'll lower you down." Like so perfect, but he really is just like this kid, and that's what comes through is that Vader, like it was this robot, half robot by the time he gets him, and then you find out he's Luke's dad, and he becomes more human by the end when he finally takes the mask off. But Kylo is fully human in this, and
He's
that's
flawed.
that's what's so compelling about him, which is like Ray said, she sees the conflict, and the conflict is there, and that's why he's compelling.
And again, it's just like Luke's view of the Force and Luke's view on everything. It's gray.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's not black and white. Star Wars used to be good versus evil, black versus white. This is what we expected as fans. Rian Johnson flipped fucking all of this.
Yeah.
And kudos to JJ for helping set up Kylo Ren, such a great character, but Rian Johnson really brings it home. And I mean, some people are like, "Oh, I mean, I'm not excited for the next movie. What's going to happen?" I mean, again, why is the plot the fixation for you when you have all this excellent stuff that you never expected Star Wars could do for you?
Right.
Like, it's how good this fucking movie is. Like, it's just spectacular, and spectacular because of the risks it takes, but the risks it pulls off. And I mean, like, it just makes me sad when I see people with like reductive takes, or they're misguided about it, because it's like I just find it disappointing, because like I feel like you're just not appreciating what's so obviously amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about, because I almost feel like with something like this, where it basically answers all the mysteries that we have about this story, there's so much more possibilities moving forward. I mean, you kind of know that the story is between these two people. There's like a little bit of a love triangle starting, which Finn, I guess we should talk about Finn. I feel like
Definitely a weak point in the movie, no question.
yeah, but Boyega's performance and just him as an actor in general is phenomenal. But the storyline with what's her name, Karen Marie Tran,
Kelly Marie Tran plays
Kelly
Rose.
Marie Tran, yeah, as Rose. Definitely Rose is a unique character within the Star Wars universe, someone that you wouldn't normally see. I feel like at least someone like Tran playing that role.
Because the setup is interesting, because she's like, "Oh, you're Finn, like you're famous, you're a hero."
Right.
It's like it's very meta, and I like the way it started.
But yeah, then the whole thing going to the casino world, even though there were some cool moments within that, it just felt like it could have been cut out and made this movie a little shorter, which is one thing I will say. People are saying that's a criticism. I think that's a fair criticism. It felt like a long fucking movie, dude.
Sure. No, I agree, especially because like that the Rose stuff, Finn and Rose stuff, there is lull.
Yeah.
I thought the horse CGI wasn't bad, but it was a little off, I think, or just not up as good as the other stuff. But it's just, I wouldn't say it was predictable plotting, but it just like it never felt truly consequential, And I think a big part of this is that I don't know if they had and this is probably, you can blame this on JJ Johnson, Kathleen Kennedy, all of them probably. Don't know if they really had a true plan for who Finn was, like what is Finn supposed to be? Force Awakens, he starts out as the fake out. Oh, right. Rey's actually the hero, not Finn. But remember the first actual trailer, you get Finn when he's like, holding the saber before he fights Kylo and gets fucked up, So I kind of was hoping he was going to get fucking killed on Crate in the speeder fight.
Yeah, I wish he had just driven into the cannon.
Or at least Rose kicked him out and Rose killed herself instead. I was hoping that one of those two things happened. But, I mean, Boyega, he has plot armor, I guess, but it's tough because I just don't know if they're fully developed the character. And yeah, I mean, what do you think? I mean, would you have? I mean, I don't think it's definitely the low point, weakest part of the movie, and it's kind of disappointing that Finn isn't becoming more. I think his friendship with Rey is probably the strongest aspect of it.
Mhm. Yeah, with Finn, I basically shared your thoughts. It seemed like they wrote the story and they're like, oh wait, we have to fit Finn in here somehow, so we're gonna put him on this like little side quest in a way.
Especially because they decided that they wanted to use Poe more than they probably initially planned.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how they'll make it fit. It seems like there's a love triangle going at least by the end. I don't really know. I kind of hope they don't go with that because I don't really know how much a love triangle, how compelling that would be for the third episode. But
I don't know if Rey and Finn are actually going to have romantic feelings. I think they might just try and keep it as a friendship.
yeah. And I don't really care about Rose all that much.
It's tough to. I mean, I mean, when you're in a weak part of the movie, it's tough to like somebody totally new. I mean, speaking of, go ahead, sorry.
But Boyega just in general is dynamic. So if JJ, I think used him really well in the first one. So if anyone can probably find a way to fit him in, it'll probably be JJ. What were you gonna say?
Well, it actually kind of reminds me. I mean, Finn Boyega, he has no clear archetype, clear analog to the original trilogy. Like Poe is so obviously Han,
Right.
Leia is still there.
Yeah.
Rey is effectively young Luke, but who is Finn? Like,
Yeah.
what is he like? Chewie? Like, I don't know. He doesn't really fit.
Right.
He's not Lando, so who is he? But that's good. Yeah, the problem is they don't
know how to use them yet.
Any for him either. Speaking of something that didn't really matter in Force Awakens, so Johnson just said fuck it. Captain Phasma, Gwendolyn Christie, Tarth. She was heavily marketed in Force Awakens. Doesn't really do much except what do you call it? Yell at Finn in the beginning and then take down the shields on Starkiller base at the end. She comes back in one scene and she falls into a fiery pit and probably dies in Last Jedi. Yep. So
it's too bad because when she signed on, I think we all were pumped. I mean, seeing this Game of Thrones star playing this almost like Boba Fett type role, and then nope, just gonna die at the end of episode 2. John.
Boba Fett type kind of role, cool armor, right? Well, is she not like Boba Fett now?
Yeah,
it's actually less scenes on Boba Fett, but Boba Fett was not in that many scenes across 2 movies. And Boba Fett also went out like a bitch. So like the mystery of Boba Fett, the mystique and just the general coolness is what made him such a great character. I mean, the movies, from what you know from the movies, it's very light. So, but I like that Johnson was like, hey, we don't need to keep that going. Let's focus on what's working.
Right.
So don't have a problem with it. And heck, maybe she lived. I don't know. She has like really good armor. Maybe she got baked in there. Maybe she didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's I don't know how they fucking save people when their ship gets cut in half. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. We don't really need to know. I guess it doesn't really matter, but it's just something interesting to think about. A couple more things because we're running a little long here, so we should probably start to wrap up. Yoda comes back, basically is like
a puppet.
Luke, a puppet Yoda, which is very cool. Call back to obviously Empire. He basically is like, yeah, Luke, you don't even know what's in these fucking texts. You don't even like care. Like,
read them, did you?
Yeah. And he just basically like summons lightning and sets that old ash tree on fire.
And that was awesome too, because I thought that was like a passing the torch. It's like, Luke, guess what? You're kind of right about this whole Forces Gray shit. Back in the day, me and my homie Mace, we fucked up, And then I got all fucking crazy and old, but you got it. So let's get a move on here, buddy. And like I thought that was cool.
Let's go, Luke. Yeah, honestly, when I first saw Yoda, I was like, oh, like I almost like audibly groaned. So I was like, what are they doing here? And then it worked so well. And I thought it was like I thought it was necessary, especially just like in thinking about Luke's character. Like one of the things I think he always kind of struggled with was like being okay with that gray. Like he always was looking for like the one side or the other. And Yoda just needed to be like, dude, like you said, like chill the fuck out. Like you're fine, pretty much. And that got Luke exactly where he needed to be. I just want to shout out all the animals in this, like porgs, those like silver like fox type things on crate.
So like the Pokemon Vulpix on
Yeah,
the Alolan Island where it's all icy. It's a fucking
yeah.
Pokemon.
I actually had the same exact thought. That I just thought that added to the world because it's just like animals are never really talked about unless like Luke's cutting one open to survive on Hoth. You know,
Yeah.
like
The, the,
animals
cre-
matter.
the creatures are a big part of Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Both big and small when they matter, like the Rancor, when they really don't, like the Wampa.
Mm-hmm.
It's all over the place. And so yeah, I thought while the horse thing again was kind of weak. I mean, it's cool to see a cool new creature, and even like that alien dude in the casino. The Vulpix guys were I thought fucking awesome. When you hear the ice clinking as they walk, right?
Yep.
And the porgs. I mean, hashtag porg has an emoji. Porgs are like this huge thing that people either love or they hate. And like, I can get if you think, oh, there's a little too much cuteness or whatever. I mean, I frankly I don't think it's any more than previous Star Wars films. I think that's an inherent aspect of Star Wars, both that kind of humor and
Mm-hmm.
again like creatures, but also the porgs don't fucking do anything. So let's slow our
No.
roll. They're just there. They just make
Yeah.
some noise a little bit. The Ewoks actually did stuff. They killed stormtroopers in armor with fucking rocks and spears.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the porgs
Yeah.
just fly around.
Right.
Jar Jar, not only was he a racist African American stereotype, but he gave Emperor Palpatine powers. The porgs, they're just there. Like, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, two more things. So one, I wanted to shout out that scene on crate, just like the visualness of or
The red.
the red with the white, it just was so amazing. I think we talked about that, but like it's just John. And I think is like important to talk about just from the standpoint of I'm not really sure how to like move into this. It's just more we have like all these like archetypes with this, and then basically at the end we see like everybody survives, and like the rebels, there's like what like 50 of them left, and like everybody's
Not
like,
even.
yeah, how are the rebels gonna survive? There's like this beacon of hope coming out. We had like this nice ending between Luke and Leia, but it really is moving into like these new people for the next movie. It's almost like bound to happen unless it's going to be like Rey really just like Westbrook this last part of the trilogy and just like defeat the Empire by herself. It'd be different by the time we come back. Is there anything that you're expecting or hoping to see for the installment at this point?
No, I mean, I think the most important thing for episode 9 is the continued resolution and probably finality of the Rey and Kylo relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Can Kylo be redeemed? Does he want to be redeemed? Does he get redeemed through death? Don't know. You can talk yourself into any decision you want, honestly. But that's what I care about. Honestly, the resistance, the good versus evil stuff, again, that's kind of been grayed out now. So do I think the good guys will mostly come out on top at the end? Of course I do. That's just how movies get. That's how we tell stories,
Right.
But yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do because also JJ is given this the table was flipped. The Monopoly board was flipped by Rian Johnson. Now JJ has to figure out how to wrap it up. And JJ helped produce The Last Jedi, so it's not like he's pissed off or anything. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how it goes down.
Yeah, I think what I'm looking forward to is how because they've done a really good job with like the dark parts of the Star Wars in the last couple of movies, especially Rogue One.
Yeah.
How they incorporate that because I don't think it's going to be like all the good guys survive. Like I would be very surprised if both Poe and Finn make it to the end or both of them.
Agreed.
I would also, like you talked about the Kylo Rey relationship, but I think we're going to see Luke as a Force ghost, if not Leia as well. I also
Probably.
would imagine that they're probably going to have some other Easter eggs in there, whether it's I don't know. Lando's probably not alive at this point, right? Like,
I mean, he'd have to be as old as Han. I mean, he could be old.
right.
He could be an old man.
You could possibly see something like that in the last one. I'm really excited for it. We have two, like, can be watching. Dup is good to talk about with this.
Real quick, Rogue One actually had an Easter egg. When Jyn Erso is going over the Empire's computer towards the end of Rogue One, when she's reading out like all the stuff before they find the plans, one thing she says is hyperspace tracking navigational systems. So the Empire was working on that technology that the First Order used. I thought that was
That
a
is
little
pretty
cool
cool.
thing that you totally did not think mattered when you watched Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
And I think honestly, my last note really is that again, the vocal minority is like, oh, you changed Hux, you made Hux comic relief. So fucking what? Hux was a caricature, an evil caricature before. Now he's funny. The Poe stuff with him is awesome. Like, why does it matter if he changes character a little bit? Like,
I actually didn't even feel like
it's
Hux changed that much because he was a bitch in the first one. He was a bitch in this one. Like,
exactly. Let's see the forest to the trees here, guys. Come on.
right. Exactly. Now, overall, I think the takeaway for us is this movie. I think it's gonna be on both our end of year lists. It was
Yes.
really good. Rian Johnson's fucking amazing, and I'm ready for his 3 movies. So
Yeah. And
uh,
macro thing, not even Star Wars. This movie says a lot about what you can do with a blockbuster in terms of throwing ideas on its head, in terms of having an amazing villain. It more blockbusters should set out to be as ambitious as The Last Jedi is. So
I
we
agree.
absolutely recommend that you spread the good word about it because there is some annoying negativity. Some stuff is well reasoned, a lot of it isn't. So, stay on the right side of history with this.
We're gonna wrap up. This is like going on 75 minutes. We're almost at an Eminem album at this point. But we wanted to just give you all a shout out. It's the holidays. Thank you for all your support this year. And show us some love. Share us with your friends. Give us a rating and review and a subscription. We want to grow. We want you to grow with us. Help us help you. Find Dave at Martin Swagger, me at Sheeny World Peace. Next week we'll be bringing you best songs, best albums, and best movies of the year. So keep that. Keep an eye out for that. Nowstalgia Pod doesn't stop grinding. To a close, and as we'll be seeing you soon. May the force be with you. And